Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win. It's Room 442 getting set for another Premier League weekend. So today, myself and Albert Vatanian thought we'll go through every match of the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And pick one storyline from each match that we'll be paying close attention to, right? So the games we have are Wolves, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Luton, United, Brighton, Spurs, Blades, West Ham, City, Newcastle, Brentford, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, Arsenal, and Forest against Burnley. So some really good games there, actually. Not too many bad ones, as discussed earlier in the week, Bertie. But let's start with you. What's your first game? It's Liverpool-Wolves.
Yes.
What is the one storyline that you're going to be paying attention to?
I think a potential upset. And that's because I was looking up some stats, and Jurgen Klopp was questioned about this. He didn't like the question. He actually asked the reporter, he's like, are you serious with that question? So Liverpool didn't win any of their 6 early Saturday kickoffs last season. I know you watched them closely, and I don't know why that is. I mean, the early kickoff is always strange, especially coming off an international break. Players are coming from different countries. You don't have that much time to train because of the quick turnaround. And listen, against Wolves, Liverpool have struggled before too. I remember last season, within 12 minutes, Liverpool were down 2-0 and then ended up losing that game 3-0. And what we've seen from Wolves this season is that, okay, defensively not great, but they can attack. We saw that against United. If they finish their chances, and with Liverpool's injuries at the back, I think there's a legitimate shot that Wolves can at least pick up a point here.
Yeah, the Molineu's not the easiest ground to
it's
play
not.
in either, right? It's funny, Klopp does hate that early kickoff. He always has. He's
Yeah.
never liked it, right? And
He
he'll let
said
you
it was
know.
like a nothing thing, though, by the way, in the press
Well,
conference.
yeah, he's saying it now, of course. And listen, he's had a week and a half to prepare for this because of the international break, right? So there's no excuse. Oh, well, we were playing on Sunday or we're playing on Tuesday, right? There's no excuse here.
No.
It's a complete Klopp out.
Love that.
That's not bad. Just came to me, actually.
not
I might
bad.
use that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's a complete Klopp out. Now, he's got, of course, Europa League to worry about, but that's not until next week. So, yeah, I don't see a shocker in this one, but I get where you're coming from because defensively, and once again, without Virgil van Dijk, they have been bad this season, but they're also scoring a ton of goals, too.
There should be
Looking
goals
pretty
in this
good.
game, eh?
I would
see
think
it.
so,
I
yeah.
think both teams' score could be a lock this weekend.
Villa, Crystal Palace. Here's mine, and it comes from the Palace side, the new Palace, the new reinvented Roy Hodgson, attacking, flowing, expansive football. Odsonne Edouard has been a guy that has not reached the heights that we thought he would, right? He came from Celtic a couple of years ago now, where he had, I think, 39 goals in his previous 2 seasons. He'd scored 4 in 42 Premier League games up until this season. Now he's got 4 in 6 going back to last season, 3 in 4 this season. He really seems to be that central figure that Palace need in that attack. And he's been fantastic. So I think my storyline here is, can he continue it? Will he continue it? Will Palace continue it against a really good Villa team at Villa Park? I see a lot of goals in this one.
I feel like Palace have struggled with number 9s for a very long time. I mean, they brought in Benteke, it didn't really work out. You know, Jordan Ayew has never really panned out. Then they have Edward, who I like. I think Mateta, Jean-Philippe Mateta is a good player. He just can't really seem to get going. Goals always came from other sources. Wilfred Zaha, Eberiche Eze, Luka I don't know how to say it. Kills me. Milivojevic. He was the captain.
Yeah,
He
set
scored-
piece king, right?
Yeah, scored a ton of penalties, right? It's for some reason that's been the issue with Crystal Palace. For Villa, I like what you're saying, but for whatever reason, what we know about Villa is that they struggle against top sides, but beat the teams that they should beat. That's Unai Emery and Aston Villa right now.
And back-to-back losses as well.
Yeah.
Right, for a team that should be surprising us. So, yeah, that match, I mean, we keep talking about the other big games as we can, but that match, something about it is jumping out at me that I'm going to make a point to focus on that because I tell you, we know what Villa are. And just Palace, I want to see Roy Hodgson go out in glory, right?
But what's glory? What would that be for Palace?
Maybe touching on the European spots.
Okay.
If they do that, I mean, that's a huge story, right?
A massive story, yeah. No one's even predicting them to be in the top half.
No, some people have them going down, in fact.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd love that. And with Edouard's goals, that they obviously need that.
How about like an FA Cup?
Oh, a cup?
What a story that'd be.
I mean, listen, this is a guy in his mid-70s, right, who's been around the world. He's, by all reports, a really good bloke. He went into retirement last year. He came out of retirement, took Watford down, didn't really work out. So I want to see him just end well and then retire, go into the sunset at the club that he just absolutely loves. He's one of the good people in football, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love Roy Hodgson.
What's next for you?
The next game, Luton Fulham. And I think a storyline here, I think Luton can pick up their first point. at Craven Cottage. I know it's a difficult one, but Fulham hasn't been great. 1 win and 4. They're getting João Paulinho back this weekend, but by all reports, he's very unhappy with the club because of what happened with the transfer. The guy went to Germany to sign.
He was there.
He was there.
Yeah.
And he had to miss the game the next week because that transfer fell through the cracks. So I like Luton. I think they can frustrate teams. And if they're going to pick up points this season, it's going to be against struggling teams like Fulham. I know going away to Craven Cottage is extremely difficult. But what I've seen from Luton, I mean, in different parts, in different games, they look really good. I think it's only a matter of time where they put together a complete performance and really hold the team to, maybe 1 goal.
Yeah, but Fulham looked good to me as well this season. Better than I thought, right?
Jimenez is scoring goals too internationally.
Exactly, right? And I think Marcus Silva has that team, they know what they are now. They made some nice signings as well, don't forget. Although I think Iwobi's out for this weekend, which is a shame because that's a really good signing for them. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to. Do I not want to see Luton get the worst record ever in?
No, you don't. No one wants to see that.
No, right? Because I've got nothing against Luton. They're a tiny team that, by all rights, shouldn't be in the Premier League in this era. Maybe back in the 80s when I used to watch them in the first division, they should have been. But they're a tiny club, so you want to see these small stories work out. And these early points are so important. But there's something about Fulham. I really like Fulham. I always have. Craven Cottage, maybe the best ground in the Premier League, and it's up there, right? As far as where it is in London, the feel in the stadium,
Love the look.
Atmosphere. Oh, it's amazing look, right? The Thames there in the background. It's a beautiful stadium. So I've got a soft spot for Fulham.
Should probably say, like, Fulham Luton, we did this earlier. We ranked the Premier League matches in terms of watchability. Yeah, it's down the list.
It's down the list. Probably not focusing on that one.
No.
Manchester United, Brighton at the other end of the spectrum. We picked this as our game to watch, didn't we? The storyline is Jadon Sancho.
Yeah.
Does he even get a place on the bench? He's training away from the first team right now. Ten Hag's demanding an apology, apparently. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Ten Hag says, the statement was he's away from the first team group pending resolution of a squad discipline issue. I mean, this is a time when United's off-the-field issues are just crushing that club. From Mason Greenwood to Anthony, facing sexual assault allegations. He's stepped away from the team now as well. The sale hasn't happened. Is it going to happen? The stadium's crumbling. This is Manchester United, Bertie, who not that long ago was the model franchise in English football. It's fallen apart, and this Sancho has to get resolved at some point, right? Because he's a wonderful footballer, but there's something going on there with his manager.
I feel like any other team in the Premier League would be on Jadon Sancho. Maybe not Manchester City, because Pep had a bit of an issue with him when he was there. But I don't understand this Manchester United situation. You thought maybe last season they were taking a turn. They got a manager who has a philosophy and has a certain style of play. They finished in the top 4. They win a trophy. All is good, right? No, we're back to square one. And it's like the off-field issues overshadow everything that's happening on the pitch, dating back to Van Gaal. Dating back to Moyes.
Well,
it just continues.
The second Fergie left.
And then we're having the same conversations. The pundits, at least in England, have the same conversations. This isn't, what Manchester United are. This isn't what they used to be. Talking about the old United. Instead of looking forward. Right. It's just the same issue.
Maybe it is what they are.
It's true. And it's hard to look past what, the situation with Anthony and Mason Greenwood. I mean, that's completely out of Manchester United's control.
Yeah.
Right? But everything else, it just seems like an ongoing story, and it's just happening over and over again.
Well, I mean, last year, Ten Hag fell out with Ronaldo.
There you go. Yeah.
And this is the new Ronaldo situation, but it's Jadon Sancho. So Ten Hag doesn't care who he upsets. He's going to force a certain philosophy and culture in that room and demand it. And I like that. It's a bit old school, but I like it a lot. Now going public with Jadon Sancho, I mean, that takes it to a brand new level. I do side, I mean, I don't know what happened behind closed doors here, but I do kind of side with the manager in these situations. You can't let players do what they want, and they're professional footballers. They should act like that. Ronaldo didn't, and now Sancho, who maybe learned from Ronaldo, isn't as well. But you're right. I mean, this guy would walk into most clubs if he's available on loan or as a sale at some point. There'll be a lineup of clubs wanting Jadon Sancho.
At a discounted price, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Not 75 million what they pay for him.
Yeah, you're going to be thinking about the issues he's had with Dortmund and England, and now Manchester United. And when Ten Hag, got rid of Ronaldo, I thought that was a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
He's like, you're causing issues in the dressing room. You don't want to come off the bench. So then we got to move on for you. This is a new United. I thought from that point on, I'm like, okay, now we're going to see what this United is all about. But now we're back to square one.
Spurs
Yes.
And Sheffield United, your Spurs. Where's the storyline here?
Big Ange, manager of the month. James Madison, player of the month. All good at Spurs right now. They take on Sheffield United. I think one to watch here. Spurs are one of the most exciting teams at the moment. It's crazy to say in the Premier League in terms of scoring goals. And I think that they're going to do some damage against Sheffield United. But with that said, Spurs have scored 11 goals so far. They're tied with Manchester City for second most in the league at the moment. But they concede a lot of chances. Mm-hmm. And I know Sheffield held Manchester City to just 2 goals in a 2-1 game, which I thought that'd be a rout, which it wasn't. And that's because City don't concede chances. I think Sheffield will go into that game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium thinking, okay, they're going to attack, but they're going to leave a lot of gaps in defense. So I think this will be a really exciting game, but I still see Spurs probably smashing them 4-2, 5-2, similar to what they did against Bournemouth.
Yeah, and listen, there's so many games you want to watch this weekend, eh? I mean, it really is a good weekend because I want to see Spurs every weekend now, just to see if this Orange Ball continues.
That is.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people don't forget. I mean, almost lost in this whole resurgence is that Harry Kane left.
I know,
right? And they haven't missed him 1 second, right? Think about that, right? This is the talisman of that team for the last 10 years. Arguably, okay, I won't say maybe he's the greatest Spurs player of all time. Listen, there's good ones in there, like Glenn Hoddle, pretty good player. Jimmy Greaves, pretty good player. But one of the greatest of all time leaves, and they don't really spend that money just yet. But they bring in the manager who's got this team firing on all cylinders. I think it's a great story.
And that manager was maybe third choice.
Yeah, probably.
And I remember when he was hired, even I was like, I don't know.
I remember talking to you right here.
Yeah, and I'm like,
it.
I don't know. And I think that's how a lot of Spurs fans felt. And then you see the football that he likes to play, and you bring in a player like James Madison. Yves Bissouma is kind of rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Son, I know people are saying coming out of the shadow of Kane. I don't necessarily.
He's just healthy this year.
I don't necessarily. Yeah, Son was killing it while Kane was here, but now he's taken on that leadership role, and it kind of means something to him. So I see it's a different Spurs side. I think they win, but I think an exciting attacking football game.
I have West Ham against Man City, another great game. I love this game. Just seeing how West Ham played so well against other attacking teams in recent times as well, right? They're happy to sit back and counter and hurt teams. I still think City are going to win this. But for me, it's a battle of the hottest strikers in the league among them. Obviously, Erling Haaland, 6 goals already, hat-trick last time out. We know what he does. Scored for Norway as well in the break. But Jared Bowen is a player that this season has played fantastic football.
Yeah.
I think he's got 3 goals so far on the campaign. He's always involved. He's a guy that's been waiting to break out for a long time. I think this might be his moment, if not in this game, in this season. But just to see West Ham, they're attacking and they're scoring goals. They're happy to acquiesce possession to better teams. But I think it's going to be a really interesting match, that one.
What an upset that'd be.
Massive.
West Ham over Manchester
I still
City.
pick City in for the picks, just so you know.
Okay,
but
yeah.
it could be a good game,
I'm with
right?
City as well.
Next up for you.
Brentford, Newcastle. And I think one thing to watch is Eddie Howe. He's under pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, just 3 points from 4. And I was looking at some stats, and we praise Nick Pope all the time. We don't know how Newcastle kind of got him under the radar. I feel like more teams probably should have been on him. But he hasn't had a clean sheet in his last 15 Premier League games, which was a 0-0 draw against Leicester City back in May. And that's not all on him. That's on the defense as well. And they're taking out this Brentford team that's won a game, 3 draws, undefeated. It doesn't matter that Ivan Toney's not there because Brian Mbeumo's scoring goals. Visa looks good.
And Mbeumo's got 4 in the season,
he
right?
looks excellent, right? He's taking penalties, right? Which is huge. That's Ivan Toney's spot. So I really believe Eddie Howe's under pressure. He might have one eye on this week or next week in the Champions League, going to the San Siro to play AC Milan.
Yeah.
I think this is a bit of a banana peel for Newcastle United.
I've got a great quote here from Eddie Howe. He says, "I only feel my emotions. They are very, very real. When we don't win, I'm not great to be around, to be honest. That is my drive. I don't need anyone to tell me anything about the team." Oof. That's in response to the pressure mounting and the critics out there. It's too early. But do you believe him? Do you believe managers when they say, I don't even listen to that. It doesn't affect me.
No.
I'm my own biggest critic.
No, because I think that quote is telling you that it does affect them.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's difficult. I mean, right. I kind of, in a way, I feel for Eddie Howe. They had such a great season last year. Very successful. One of the best defenses in the Premier League, which is difficult to do. And yet he was still criticized during the summer, criticized at the beginning of the season if he's the right manager because the owners have money and they can go out and get whoever they want. So it must be frustrating for him to be a successful manager in the Premier League, yet still be criticized.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's extremely unfair, actually. I have Bournemouth, Chelsea, I believe.
Oof.
Bournemouth, Chelsea. I think Poch has now had a couple of weeks to figure things out somewhat. They had 7 call-ups internationally, right, which isn't a ton. Still lots of injuries there, right? So I think the storyline now is I think Chelsea are going to find themselves this week. This is going to be the turning point for them. I've said this before, and it hasn't happened.
Right.
Bournemouth's a good team. Bournemouth's a nice team, actually. I'm actually a fan of Bournemouth and what they've done so far this campaign under Iraola. But I just think that this Blues team, at some point, is going to be knitted together because I've got so much faith in Pochettino. He's done it before. So the storyline here is that Chelsea are going to look like the Chelsea we expect. Not just from a performance, because performance-wise, they've been okay so far, but from a result standpoint.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The biggest issue with Chelsea, I think they're playing good football. They're creating chances. They're just not scoring those chances.
Yep.
You know, I mentioned this to you, I think, earlier this week. Nico Jackson, expected goals is at 3, and he has 0, missing empty netters. You have, I think Enzo Fernandez could have had a couple of goals as well. So I think the goals will come. The football is there. They just need to cash those chances.
Everton, Arsenal for you.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to this game. This is the late kickoff on Sunday. I think you'd want to watch this game to watch an upset at Goodison Park, which is crazy to say. Goodison Park has this unbelievable feel-good factor when things are going right, specifically when it's kind of this type of game against Arsenal. Sean Dyche's first match in charge for Everton was a 1-0 win over Arsenal. And for whatever reason, Arsenal, they're winless in the last 5 trips, losing 4 at Goodison Park. And if there was ever a time, to galvanize the fan base and get behind Everton, it's against Arsenal right now.
It's a weird match that even goes back to, remember Wayne Rooney's goal for Everton against Arsenal?
Oh, my God.
Just before the big move to United. It's a long time ago now. It's but it's something about this fixture, you're right. And if you watch Everton this year, okay, they've been poor. They haven't got results. We know that, right? Sean Dyche under pressure, but they've had so many chances to score goals. They just cannot finish. That's my concern in this one. Can they turn that around? Because Arsenal's waiting there. They've had time to regroup a little bit. And I'm backing Arsenal to have a very good season. So I like where you're going with this one.
Yeah.
It could well be a shocker. But I would be surprised if that happens.
Oh, that's why it'd be an upset, right? We'd all be surprised. But I like 3 things in their attack at the moment. Okay, DCL's not there. Unfortunately, that guy's he's just injury prone. But Beto looks like a player up top. They got Danjuma now who can play off the wing, who's a goal scorer. He did really well at Villarreal. Didn't really pan out at Spurs, but he can score goals. And now Doucouré is playing more in a 10 role. And when he pushes further forward, he just gets chances. So those 3 guys, really good in attack. And in a match like that at Goodison, with the Goodison faithful behind them, they're going to get stuck in and dig in against this Arsenal side. I love it.
I like it. Notts Forest, Burnley, to cap things off. Burnley, it's all about Burnley. What has Vincent Kompany figured out in the international break? Because they started this season as this big reputation from a great season in the Champions League, a championship, sorry, I should say, and they've been way too open this campaign. They've been way too attacking, too expansive. It hasn't translated well in the Premier League. So have they decided to regroup and play a more defensive system of football? Because otherwise I think they could be going right back down. 11 goals against so far this season, a -8 goal differential. That's not good enough. They were plus 52 last season. Just shows where they were, how they played, and how the 2 leagues differ so much. I want to see if Vincent Kompany is really a legitimately good football manager early in his career by changing things around, because they can't keep playing the same way against a Forest team that, even without Brennan Johnson, that big loss, have great pace up front. So it's going to be an interesting match, this one.
I think Vincent Kompany should look at Steve Cooper and Forest for inspiration.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Similar last season, Forest were playing this attacking football and getting cut, chewed apart in the Premier League. And what happened? Cooper changed his style, more defensive, and they stayed in the Premier League. And Burnley and Vincent Kompany have to do the exact same thing.
Well, what do you think? Get your picks in at 442picks.ca. It's free to enter, and there are weekly and monthly prizes, of course, as well as that biggie, potentially $250,000. Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.